Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, highly cinematic story from the ancient texts. We're talking about the clash between Krishna and Vatsasura. But we're not just looking at this as your standard tale of good versus evil. No, we're going to use this narrative to uncover some profoundly deep lessons about hidden negativity, spiritual awareness, and how the absolute biggest threats we face, well, they often don't look like threats at all. All right, let's dive right in. Picture this. You've got the peaceful morning mist drifting right beside the flowing Yamuna River. Young Krishna, his brother Balarama, and their cowherd friends are just walking along joyfully. The forest is literally echoing with laughter. It's the absolute picture of perfect innocence, right? But here's the catch. In Vrindavan, the greatest dangers don't always look like terrifying monsters. Sometimes they look exactly like innocence. Because right there, completely hidden in plain sight among those sweet, innocent calves, a truly dangerous demon is just waiting. So, part one, the setup and the illusion of peace. It's absolutely crucial to understand the spiritual baseline of Vrindavan before we move forward. True joy in this forest springs entirely from simplicity, devotion, and harmony with nature. And that's a stark contrast to the outside world, where happiness is so often chased through wealth or power. Then, suddenly, the whole environment just shifts. We move away from that idyllic, golden sunlight of Vrindavan straight into the dark, fearful palace of Mathura. And here we find the furious King Kamsa. He is absolutely burning with rage because, well, all his previous plots have failed, so he summons this dark, powerful entity named Vatsasura and gives him a chilling, highly specific command. Enter Vrindavan secretly, hide among the calves, and kill Krishna before anyone notices. It's a completely calculated strike using pure deception. But hey, before this demon even sets foot in the forest, we really need to understand his karmic background. Demons aren't just born out of thin air, right? Vatsasura has lived through many, many past lives, driven entirely by pride, jealousy, and hatred. Life after life, his ego blinded him, and that unchecked anger literally hardened his consciousness to the point where he became just a pawn for a cruel king like Kamsa. It's a brilliant illustration of how repeated negative thoughts and actions over time actually shape who we become. Which brings us to part two, the infiltration, the hidden threat. So Vatsasura reaches the sacred forests, and he physically disguises himself as a small calf, blending perfectly into the herd. The cowherd boys don't suspect a single thing. And this right here is the crucial point. On the outside, you see an innocent calf, pure goodness, false innocence. But the inner reality? A highly dangerous demon. The source texts use this physical disguise as a direct metaphor for our own minds. Think about it. Just as the demon deceives the eye, our own deepest, darkest inner negativities often wear disguises too. Pride loves to hide as confidence. Greed masks itself as ambition. And honestly, perhaps the most dangerous one of all, spiritual ego hiding as genuine spirituality. And that leads us straight into part three, the clash, awareness and action. The tension in the narrative absolutely peaks right here. The wind stills, the birds completely stop singing. Why? Because Krishna, who possesses absolute divine awareness, calmly studies the herd and instantly spots the anomaly. He sees right through the disguise to those burning eyes of fear and hatred. And he doesn't hesitate for a second. He signals to Balarama, moves faster than lightning, grabs the demon calf right by its hind legs, swings him powerfully through the air, and hurls him against a massive tree. Boom! The disguise vanishes, and the threat is totally neutralized. We're talking decisive, immediate action. What Krishna demonstrates in that moment is a vital concept known as spiritual discrimination. Basically, it's the awakened ability of the mind to clearly recognize false influences, hidden manipulation, and toxic inner impurities. Connecting this back to us, Krishna's swift recognition teaches a really hard truth. We simply cannot defeat what we don't acknowledge. We absolutely have to develop this keen, totally honest awareness to identify our own hidden inner enemies. Those disguised calves grazing in our own minds, before we can even hope to root them out. Moving on to our final section now, liberation and application, the modern takeaway. Now, you might expect the story to just end there, with the villain being destroyed, right? But the source material introduces a truly profound twist. As the false calf form disappears, this brilliant spiritual light emerges from the fallen demon, and actual celestial flowers shower down from heaven. Why? Because Krishna compassionately grants him liberation. It reveals this incredible truth. Divine grace is simply greater than karma. No soul is ever permanently lost. It beautifully highlights the deep mystery of divine compassion. The evil is destroyed, for sure, but the soul itself is saved, which allows pure joy and peace to just naturally return to Vrindavan. Bringing this ancient metaphor into the present day, the sages explain that Vatsasura isn't just some monster in a fairy tale. No, he's a representation of the hidden immaturity lingering inside the human mind. And these modern Vatsasurs, they take so many forms: fake spirituality, hidden pride, selfish kindness, spiritual ego, manipulation. Let's be real, whenever toxic negativity hides behind a shiny mask of goodness in our everyday lives, the demon has returned. So the big question is, how do we actually defend against something we can barely see? Well, to protect our consciousness from these hidden threats, the text outlines some highly practical daily steps, things like chanting divine names, regular meditation, practicing genuine humility, and demanding absolute truthfulness from ourselves, all fueled by sincere devotion. And look, these aren't just empty rituals. They are active, powerful tools meant to sharpen your spiritual discrimination. They invite divine clarity and to purify a sincere heart. That way, when the disguised calf inevitably slips into your mind, you'll have the razor-sharp awareness to spot it instantly. And honestly, that brings us to the very core of this entire explainer. The story of Vatsasura Vadha teaches us that our absolute greatest enemies are rarely the loud, obvious monsters out there in the world. They are almost always the quiet, disguised impurities sitting right inside us. So as we wrap up today's analysis, I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on as you navigate your own journey of self-awareness. Ask yourself, and be honest, what hidden darkness is waiting to be purified in your heart?